It's gonna be a brighter day.
Happy Friday. It's time for the Richard Skipper Friday Wrap-Up Show. Who and what are you celebrating today? Richard Skipper believes every day is worth celebrating. But today, we wrap up the week with a dose of positivity. You never know who might show up or what might happen, so get ready. Your skipper is now coming on board, and we are ready to set sail. All aboard!
Happy Friday, everyone, and welcome to the latest edition of Richard Skipper Celebrates. It's our Friday wrap-up show, and we're going to wrap up this week in a nice, big, pink, red bow. Oh my God, what a week this has been in the news, around the world, everything that's going on. But today, we are going to be celebrating 4 artists who have incredible shows that you all, I hope, will go and see. Now, it's interesting because those of you who live in New York, I don't know what it's been like around the rest of the country, but here in New York, it has been so rainy. But now it's May, the sun is shining, it's 85 degrees right now in Spark Hill where I am. But because of all the April showers, now it's time for May flowers. And I think that all of these shows are epitomize that because we're going to be blooming all over New York City and Provincetown celebrating these upcoming shows. I'm very excited because all 4 of our guests are friends of mine and they've all been on the show before. And this is not just lip service. I love each and every one of them. And I always love to be in the audience of their shows. And before we started, my dear friend Alan Choi from San Francisco, I asked him to pick a number 1 through 3. And he picked a number, and the number he picked was Nick and Desi. They're our first today. The superheroes are in love, and they are here, and they have a new show. Look at this.
Look at that
3rd,
photo.
7
It's
o'clock.
a new photo.
It's a new show. And you can also, well, and I love this too. Look at that.
Yeah.
Here you are. So, but I am going to be, that afternoon, I am doing a talk back with the theater doing Hello Dolly. But I'm going to rush back to New York to hopefully be in the audience of your show.
We'll wait for you.
We'll hold the curtain for you.
Good. Now, I want to begin by asking you both, besides your show, who or what are you celebrating today?
Well, since I'm a mother, I'm celebrating having time with my daughter. Today we just actually went and got a pedicure. First time her going. I have great pictures. I'll show you later. They even just like of course they treat her amazing. So they even did like cute flowers on her toes. So it was just a precious moment, and I'm just so thankful for her and thankful to be her mom.
And it's Mother's Day, So if my mom is watching, I love you, Mom. So I'll start with you, Desi. What are some of the life lessons that you learned from your mom that you have imparted to your own daughter?
Oh, wow. That's a great question. I mean, I feel like she has always been so supportive in everything that I've done. And she is a dancer herself. And, she worked really hard, and then she actually retired from dancing at like 28 or 27 because she's like, I don't want to do this, but she has a dance studio. But like, just always just follow your heart, and anything you love, if you want to do it, do it. I won't stop her. And my mom didn't stop me. She just supported me.
Now, we got very, very lucky during the pandemic because we got to see the family dynamic in full bloom
Yes.
with the three of you. And it's obvious that she's got the bug. Do you think
Yes.
that she will pursue a career in this?
I mean, she just has, this is her first year of ballet and tap. She has her show next weekend. She is very coordinated and has rhythm, and she loves watching us do it and knows all of our songs. It can harmonize almost now. So who knows?
But when, you know, like sometimes we ask her to do some stuff in the videos or for like some audition sometimes, and she's not that into it. So
she's a
we'll
kid,
see. Whatever
but-
she wants to do, we'll support. We're very happy.
But she is very good already.
Yes.
So
She's a Little
knows?
Miss personality. So
Yes.
yes.
Now, Nick, did you come from a theatrical family as well?
Well, my mother took dance classes when she was in Paris as a kid, and my father was part of a choir. So they were were musically inclined, but it was so expensive to keep up with ballet classes in Paris. My mom stopped when she was a little girl when she was 8 or 9. But
You could have been a can dancer.
yeah,
Yeah.
she could.
That was free. That's free. Just kidding.
But you know, when I was 6 years old, I saw Fred Astaire movie and I wanted to tap, and I told my parents, and they were like, "Okay." So they've always been like Desi's parents, very supportive of
They just
me.
they loved dance.
They love dance, so yeah, they always supported and loved coming to see me dance. And I'll never forget my dad. Of all the styles I did, he said the ones he loved me to watch me do the most was ballet because it was so unlike me. He says you are so different when you do ballet,
You
and
could
put on something, and he's like, oh yeah, you're tapping jazz. It's your personality. It's funny, but when you do ballet, it's something that I admire the most.
So sweet.
Well, I may have asked you this question before, but if I have, then I'm going to ask it again. There are new audience members watching. Is it easy to balance both a career? Both of you are in the business, and I bow to both of you because I can't imagine being in this business with my husband. Thank God he's a landscape architect, thinking of retirement at this point. But it must be, well, it may be easy for both of you. I don't know, because there may be times when one of you may be getting a lot of work. And I know, Desi, that you took a little sabbatical when your daughter was born. So is it easy to balance with the two of you, both a career and your home life as well?
I mean, it's been so different since having a child. So basically, we had her, and then there was like a year and a half, and we actually got to do a show together, and then the pandemic happened. So we're just now trying to figure it out because we're back in real time.
Yeah.
And we're figuring out what is important to us. It is difficult, but I think that we've found doing productions of shows that we have no control over the timing or even being cast in it is very difficult on us to figure out. And I think what we love doing is our own show because we can control that and we can arrange childcare, and it seems tangible and exciting.
Yeah, it is a challenge. It's definitely a lot of logistics. When like last summer we had the opportunity to go do Jersey Boys together at the Fulton Theater. Desi was cast as Mary Delgado. I was the choreographer, and then for the first week there were people illness, so I played Tommy DeVito for a week. But our daughter was still in school for the 2 weeks that overlap where we were supposed to be there. So my mother came for 2 weeks, and then my mother came with us, and then my dad came to dog sit because we couldn't bring the dogs.
Easy.
It's a lot.
We have dogs too. It's hard.
Well, I know. I have a dog as well, as you know. So, so tell us a little bit about your upcoming show. I've got the ticket information on the bottom of the screen, but you're going to be at Green Room 42, and tell us a little bit about the show.
Well, it's an early celebration of the summer, so it's June 3rd, and what we love to do when we perform together is change up our material. Howard Tucker, one of our big fans who is watching the show right now, he comes and sees us every show, even though sometimes it's every 3 to 4 months, and he says, "I just love that you switch it up." And we have some classics that we keep in the show.
Some of the same.
There's some that we adore that are truly us and the triple threat, and then we change it up and add some new material, some fun songs, and that's what we enjoy, the variety. So yeah, it's going to be a 75-minute show or 65 to 75-minute show of us singing and dancing and the fun banter.
Yeah, we have a little bit more stories about how we came about.
Yeah, it's going to be get a little deeper about our relationship and how we persevere,
or even just separately.
Yeah, so it's going to be a great show.
Yeah. Well, we're going to bring our next guest on in just a moment, but before we do, as I always do on the Friday afternoon show, I've got my mystery questions laid out. So Desi, you go first. Pick a number 1 through 4.
4.
And your question is, well, it says, do something that demonstrates to your friends that you are someone they can rely on. I already know that you're someone that your friends can rely on. What is a quality that you have within yourself that you know that your friends will say that's absolutely true about her and that we can always rely on her?
Oh, just like I don't know.
They can't. Nobody can rely on them.
I don't have friends.
Well, Nick, do you want to answer for her?
You answer for me.
Desi's a woman of her word. She is. It's so people will say that when she says she's going to do something, she will do it. It's there's never a flake moment. If you're invited, if Desi says yes, she will be there, and she will raise hell and high water to make sure she gets there.
Thank you so much.
So yeah.
I don't like being late. I'll never be late.
Yeah.
Other people of mine. I went to the theater to see a concert a few weeks ago in Richfield, Connecticut, and I would say that about 35% to 40% of the audience were late coming in. And not only were they late coming in, and anyone who's watching, they were walking to their seats in the middle of songs, which are very distracting. If you come to the theater, everyone, wait until the song is over.
Yes.
Trying to get to your seats. So,
yeah.
So, Nick, you pull a question number 1 through 3.
2.
And your question is, well, it's actually a statement. It says, start a journaling practice and use it to explore how you feel. Do you journal?
No, I don't. I don't have time.
No, I don't have time.
I don't. Yeah, I don't make enough
choice.
Time. Yes.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to make a suggestion. One of my favorite books is The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron, and she begins every day with your morning pages, and I'm very religious about that. Every morning, the first thing I do are 3 pages that I just write, and it's just it's not for anyone else to see, it's for your own edification. And I did a workshop, and this woman was afraid. She says, I'm afraid that somebody will actually find my journals. And I said, well, why don't you shred them after you write them?
Yeah.
And she does that, and she uses it as confetti now. So which she does different colored paper, and it's all confetti. So you can decide amongst yourselves who our next guest is. You can pull the number 1 through 2.
1.
Okay. This is someone who is actually going to be appearing in your show.
Yes.
But I will only bring him on if he promises that he will do. Today is National Limerick Day, and he wrote a limerick for me this morning. Are you ready, Sean? Okay, he's got to have the limerick ready, so I'm bringing him on.
Yeah.
Hello. Oh my goodness, I'm pulling it up right now. I have the limerick here.
Okay, here is the special limerick written just for Richard Skipper Celebrates.
And I literally wrote it. I haven't written a limerick since I was in 3rd grade. And when I saw that it was Limerick Day and you had put out the challenge for someone to write a limerick, this came out instantly, Richard, which is really speaks to who you are. So, 3 cheers for the one we call Skipper, whose shows are always quite chipper. He's one exceptional host. We surely love him the most. May his joy and light never flicker.
I want you to do that on your iPhone so I can use it as a promo.
You should.
Of course. Yes.
Yes, I definitely want that. So how do you all know each other, and how did this come about that you're guesting in their show?
Story.
Yeah, actually, I met Nick a long time ago. He doesn't remember, and I'm going to hold on to that because I'm a Scorpio, and the fact that he doesn't remember, I'm going to hold that against him for as long as we're friends. He did Wicked with one of my dear friends from college, Tio Wicks, back in San Francisco. And then, that was a lifetime ago. And a friend of mine named Megan, who's one of those performers who she literally never stops working, Megan Opalinsky. She's phenomenal. And her and Desi were roommates. And Nick and Desi were looking for some help with, how to write a press release, how to do this and that. And Megan knows that I am a hustler and can do any job. So I responded to the tag in their post and I said, I would love to help you write a press release and tell you who you should contact. And then we did a FaceTime to kind of like see what we were going to write about and what we're going to do. And our sense of humor lined up, our texting sense of humor lined up. It was it's so fun to get a text from them, and I can hear it in their voices when it's like something silly. And yeah, it's just like an exchange. And I'm like, somewhere in this text is actual work towards what we're doing. But the most important thing is that we're having fun. And so, it's.
Are you going to be doing any numbers together?
No.
I don't think so. And I don't think so, and I'm okay with that. Just because I am so.
I didn't mean to put you on the spot. So
I am so overwhelmed right now.
Yes.
I'm moving to LA and putting my farewell show together. And putting which is
cannot leave us. We just fall in love with you, and then you drop us like a hot potato.
You get Bernard Telsey. You get Bernard Telsey on the phone and tell him I got a job, and I will turn that car around. I will turn that car around for Broadway. Trust me.
Well, is this an exclusive now that I'm getting? When, where, and how did you make this decision that you're going to leave New York to go to LA?
I fell in love. I fell in love. And my boyfriend works out in California, and he works in mental health, and he's licensed for California. And he works for a very big company out there. And we're discussing on where to relocate. And it just seemed easier for LA for his profession, as well as my profession. I've been, barking up the Broadway tree for 13 years now. And in the past handful of years, I've been getting much more response from TV and film. So it just kind of feels like that's the right path, and it came to us organically. And I mean, it's amazing that I found he's already at our place in LA now. And it's amazing that the New Yorker and me manifested this so well that we are next to a metro stop. That doesn't happen in LA. I got to downtown LA in 20 minutes. I was like, oh, this is like my red carpet for being a New Yorker in LA. And I never thought I would leave New York, and now I can't wait to be with him again. So,
well, congratulations. We're going to miss you, though. It's not going to seem, but thank God you can be back and you can come back to New York.
He'll be back.
You can come back.
At least once a year.
What's funny, Richard, is about a year ago, we had been doing our meetups. We meet up cross country every few weeks to be together, and we posted a picture, and you commented. You said, "Hurry up, boys! One of you needs to make up your mind." And we were just kind of like giggling because we're like, "Oh, we know. It's just we have to. It's a long journey." So at that point, we already had the idea, and it was just funny. I was like, "Oh my gosh!" But I will not forget that you said that. You said one of you needs to make up your mind. And we're arriving at
Betty
that day.
Betty White said that when Alan Ludden proposed to her, she turned him down, and she kept turning him down, and she kept turning him down, and kept turning him down, and this went on for a couple of years, and finally she just broke down and said, "Okay, stop asking me, I'll marry you." And he said, and thank God, she said, "I regret that we didn't do it earlier." So. Good luck with everything. And so not only are you doing this show, but you have a new show celebrating, I love this, the Divas. Yes, there you are. And of course, I've got the little scroll thing on the bottom. Let me remove that for just a moment so that people can see more. A tribute to Sondheim's divas. And you not only are going to be doing this show on June 23rd at 7 o'clock, I'm hoping to be there for this one as well, but you are also taking this to Provincetown for Cabaret Fest. So I know that this year they're doing a tribute to Sondheim, and no one asked which Sondheim. There's only one Sondheim.
Exactly.
Have you ever met another Sondheim? Anybody?
No.
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 Isn't it
I
interesting?
did recently meet his widower, but I don't think he took the name. So yeah, no, I've never met another Sondheim.
So how did this show come about? Your divas celebrating the women of Sondheim.
Well, I'm sure, as everyone here who has worked in musical theater knows, that it is a gay man's responsibility and birthright to, when they walk into a rehearsal room, they have to know all the female parts before they start learning their own. It is just what we do. We are obsessed with these women. These women give us life. As I like to talk about, the relationship between a gay man or a queer person and their divas is so special because they embody everything that we have been told over time to repress, to suppress, to hide. If you want to book this show, don't be posting pictures in caftans. I've heard people have told that. They said, if you want to work, you need to stop posting pictures in high heels. I'm like, but I look so damn good in heels.
I love it. Yeah.
And you do. But I want to ask you, and I probably know the answer. Maybe I do, maybe I don't. Do you have a favorite Sondheim diva?
Oh, that I have a couple. I have a couple. I will start with saying my favorite, Rose. My favorite, because he wrote lyrics, so she technically is a gypsy is a Sondheim show. My favorite, Rose, is Tyne Daly.
Mine too. I saw it six times with her.
I was obsessed. The first time I heard it, I was just like, I mean, you hear in her voice, you hear a yearning that I don't think you hear in any other Rose's voice. They're all wonderful. She's amazing. As far as interpreters go, I mean, Barbara Cook is just phenomenal. And I didn't appreciate her when I was younger. I did not appreciate her when I was younger. And it wasn't until about 10 years ago when I heard her voice and I was like, oh my God, I get it. And especially her voice with Sondheim and that material and it being her second act, it is just phenomenal. So she's one of my absolute favorites. And I have to say, and I love her. And every time I hear her voice, I still get chills, is Maren Maisie.
Oh, yes, God bless her. Yeah.
I only had the opportunity to meet her once, but there's something about her energy that just stuck with me into this day. Whatever recording, whether it's on YouTube, whether it's whatever, I hear her voice and it radiates through my body. I just feel this spiritual connection to that gift that she made the best of.
Well, I want to let everybody know tonight on PBS at 9 o'clock, it's great performances and it's a celebration of Broadway. And it was just filmed. Sutton Foster, Chita Rivera is performing a number at 90. So, we just grow into this. So if we're lucky. So Desi, I want to ask you, have you had the good fortune to play a Sondheim diva?
No, never.
I
think
you would like
many people think because I'm a dancer first that I probably wouldn't even be considered for it. So maybe I'll change that one day. I would love to.
We do sing in our show. We sing "Being Alive."
Well, Sondheim did write the lyrics in West Side Story.
I didn't want to interject. I was like, yes,
I did play Anita.
Well, then you have done a
Broadway.
Sondheim.
On Broadway, nonetheless.
Yes.
I don't even think because it's not his.
Right,
it's his.
Well,
work and
Desi, with all due respect, you're not the only diva on the show today because we have a diva waiting in the wings, and I'm going to bring her on in just a moment. But Sean, you get to pull another number, 1 or 2, for your mystery question.
I'm going to go with 2.
And you're this is a good one, and this is something that we're all dealing with right now. Reevaluate a long-held belief. Is there a long-held belief that you've held onto for a long time that you have recently reevaluated, or that you feel that you need to reevaluate?
You know, it's the staying busy and staying active. Both of my parents are first generation, and so they definitely have this old school immigrant mentality that is wonderful, and I do believe that there is a lot of value to it. But it trickled into my generation, which is always be working, always have a job, don't be a burden to anybody or anything, and I mean, during the pandemic, I got a job day one. I had no idea that unemployment was going to be a thing, and I was just like, don't be a burden, and I went and got a job in the middle of the pandemic before they advised wearing masks, and it's like, then after that happened, and I called my dad, and I was like, you know, this is just talking about the stresses of it, and he goes, well, why didn't you just stay at home and take unemployment? You earned it. And I was like, you are advising me? You're the one that taught me never to, you know, be a burden. Oh. And it was one of those things where it's just like, oh, okay, so that's what we knew then, and that's what was told then. And then we advance as a society and as a people, and sometimes, and it's not being a burden, I just use it because that was the mentality that was thrust upon them and then me. It is a matter, it is okay to ask for help. And tomorrow I have the day off, and I was asked to come and nanny, and I don't have another day off for 3 weeks. And I accepted it. And then I sat with it, and I said, you know what? I need that day off. I could definitely make the money, but I'm taking tomorrow off, and I'm going to go over my show, and I'm going to clean my house. I'm going to relax and just enjoy it. So I'm constantly reevaluating the need to be making money, to be working, and to not bother people.
Well, I saw Jane Fonda on TV this morning looking fabulous, I might add. And she said that no is a complete sentence. So it's good. It's sometimes good to say no. Well, we're going to bring on our next guest, and she has a show that she's going to be doing on Mother's Day. And this show is so special. And it's called Hold On Tight. It's a love story, and it's about the relationship that she had with her mother, Becky, who I was lucky enough to know. And the night that Becky passed away, we went and we were all at Meg's apartment. And it truly is one of the most meaningful nights of my life. I can honestly say this. Just for the love of everyone, just being there, just sharing with each other, and just being in that moment. That's not all. She also has a show, speaking of Sondheim, called Carefully Taught, that she's going to be doing in Provincetown. She will be there at the same time that Sean is going to be there. And I am so thrilled you're here, Meg. And I want to begin, before we even get to Becky, which we're going to get to, Sondheim Divas. Have you ever played one of Sondheim's divas? And if not, do you have a role that you would love to play?
Well, I got to play Marta and Company, another 100 people that got off of the train. And ironically, that's when I also met Tanya Moberly, because we both did this same production 1,000 years ago. And as far as the dream role, you know, what's so great about Sondheim and Hammerstein, but Sondheim, is how they created seasoned women. You know, so I just look forward to getting older and older and older to have the right to play the seasoned women. But there's also stamina needed. And I was at that Time Daily performance the night after she won the Tony.
I was there that night too. Do you remember what she did at the end of the show? She got her pony and she sat it in the center of the stage.
Yes.
And the spotlight hit. I was there that night, Meg.
Oh my God, the loudest applause before she got the first word out. And it was really transformative to watch that Rose. And so we all talk about how we'd love to play that Mama Rose role, but oh my God, emotionally, psychologically, vocally, and physically, you have to be an athlete. I mean,
I will say, you bring up a memory, because I don't remember hearing an ovation as long as that ovation. But she didn't stand there and bask in it. She was Mama Rose, primping her daughters, making sure the children were lined up. She never let that character drop for a second. And yet the audience was going crazy. They wanted Tyne Daly at that moment, and she did not give it to them. She was definitely Mama Rose.
An old school thespian, a real on the boards actress.
Yeah.
That we happen to meet through television. And I love that. I love meeting that they are stage actors first.
Yeah.
And then they got this big break, which Sean Patrick is going to get in LA.
Yes.
Yeah.
She told a wonderful story. She said when she was a little girl, her father was in the business as well. We talked earlier about Nick and Desi and their parents and what they imparted to them. But when she was a little girl, she went to see James Earl Jones in The Great White Hope. And she went backstage. It was that moment that she decided, I'm going to be an actress. And she went backstage and she said to James Earl Jones, "Oh my God, Mr. Jones, this is the greatest night I've ever had." And he said to her, "I wish you had been here last night. It was a better performance." And she said to him as a little girl, "But I wasn't here last night. This is all I have." Wow. And I think that all of us as artists, when someone walks up and pays us a compliment, just simply say thank you.
Yes.
So let's talk about Becky for a moment.
Oh, Becky.
And Becky was such an incredible person. And the life lessons that she imparted to you, that you carry through your life.
Her work ethic, her capacity to forgive and move on. She was a Gemini, the first day of Gemini. So she had a lot of that Taurus earth in her, steady, loyal, true, dedicated. But, she also was complicated because her father didn't let her go to college. And she had the best grades in the family. She was the overachieving teenager. And he said you could be a nurse or a secretary. She didn't want to be either. But she took nursing as far as she could to fast forward, get her degree at night, her master's at night. And then when we moved to New York City as a family in 1977, she put herself through midwifery school in her 50s to become one of the top midwives in New York in the poorest hospitals, where she took care of the women that really needed the care. And boy, is she rolling in her grave right now.
I was just thinking, I wonder what she would be thinking these days.
I don't even want to tell you what she would. I'll put it this way. She would find a way to create an underground railroad in New York City to make sure women had choice. That's what she would do. Because she delivered generations of teenage mothers, and she just saw the reality. She saw the reality. She saw the boy leave, and a grandmother, a mother, and a daughter raising generations of children in one apartment, not going to high school, not actualizing, and just that there are choices.
Well, speaking of choices, you wear so many hats in your own career, and you've made your own career as an actress, as a singer, as a spokesperson. Out of all the hats that you wear, which one do you feel that you wear the most comfortably, number one? And as you were embarking on your path, having her father really put a roadblock, which he did, in front of her, did she just instill in you this idea of excelling, or were there any roadblocks that were placed in your path as you were starting out?
Well, my father was a feminist and my mother was a feminist. And they were so 70s. It was so 70s. It was so.
And your father, I might tell everyone, was with the Peace Corps.
Yeah, he was the first Peace Corps director in Malaysia. Wow. And I was a love child born in the Philippines that they didn't need, but they got, because life was sexy in the Philippines. But anyway, so it was always, well, of course you'll perform. Of course you'll make music. Of course. And it wasn't until I met friends studying drama in college that I learned it was a risky profession to go into, because they weren't telling their parents what their majors were. And so it was none of that get a survival job. It was just keep going, which in some ways was unfortunate, because I could have used I think I would have loved a more balanced education rather than what I did, majoring in drama. Because now, in retrospect, the way I define myself really is a writer. You know, at times I'm writing songs, at times I'm writing selling scripts, at times I'm writing books, at times I'm writing shows. So it would have been interesting to have focused on that a little more academically. But you get there when you get there. And at 18, I didn't know any of this was in me. Mm-hmm. So I guess we have to just forgive ourselves, right? We have to forgive our story. Whatever our story is, whatever we were late to realize, it's part of the story.
It's part of the story. I like that. That's really great.
I'm working on that a lot because I have a lot of friends my age looking back with melancholy at if I only knew this, could get this. And I said, but we didn't. You couldn't. Yeah. You know, you only hear the word, whatever the word means to you, whether it's the artist's way or a good counselor or something comes to you in a meditation. You only hear it when you hear it. So.
Well, you and I were talking earlier this morning, and I mentioned this to you. I just heard this incredible podcast about Leslie Jordan. And Leslie Jordan said that, you know, he was early in his career was an alcoholic. He ended up in jail because of an accident that he had. And he, out of that, he went into AA. And but his sponsor told him that when you go into an audition, stop thinking, am I going to get this role? What's in it for me? What's in for me? To go in with the idea of you were there for service to the people that you're, what are you bringing to the table for them? And the bottom line is they want the best for their project. They absolutely want the best. And you come in with this attitude of, I'm going to give you the best. No one can do what any of us can do better than what each of us can do. And we all, and that's true of everyone watching as well, hold on to that. So there's one question left, and and the question is, and I like this, as I'm going to read the statement and then you finish it. As I take on new challenges, I feel calm, confident, and powerful. At this point in your life, do you feel those things, or are these things that you still have to work at?
You know, what's been powerful about being a caregiver, because that is what the show is about and the book is about. It started with being an AIDS volunteer, and then my father's caregiver, and then my mother's caregiver. And we have a sister with special needs, so we're always there for her. Mm-hmm. With each of the losses and each of like the jewels of experiences I had in this bubble of just being focused on another person, it took a lot of my attachment away of what other people think, what other people want of me. And so I always had this expression that a part of me died with them. Wow. And the part of me that died with them was the part of me that would really get overly identified by needing praise, needing approval. It's really about doing the best work I can do. And I really don't mind if it's 5 people in the audience. I really don't mind because I see it all as the same, whether I sell one lipstick at Bergdorf Goodman or 5,000 lipsticks on QVC, right? It's lipstick. And so
one lipstick makes an impact on somebody, you've done your work.
Yeah, it's about the moment. It's just about that moment. You make that music, you say that lyric, you tell that story to that person. It's valuable. Mm-hmm. So I think that's the good news about getting older, and that's the good news of the life lessons that I've had in New York City, which we hear outside my window.
Mine too.
Was of lack of I have less attachment to result, less attachment to something turning into something, going somewhere, making me somewhere, something. It really is show up, do the work the way I did in the backyard. You know, when I would sing my show tunes with my best friends for, you know, the dog.
Well, we all should hold on to that. So I've pulled some questions based on my own readings. I do a lot of soul searching, and I have pulled questions based on my own readings, things that popped out at me this week. And hopefully you'll have a little fun with this little journey about our creativity. And Nick, I'm going to start with you. And the question is, what do you feel is the most important action that you have ever taken other than marrying this gorgeous woman by your side.
Yes.
What do you feel is the most important action that you've taken in terms of moving forward in your career?
I've always been fearless, and so I've always it's never been a well, I'm scared of doing that. It's always been like, just go for it. And so I think just the action of being open, of always jumping, and knowing that the net will appear, to quote a bumper sticker. I think I've always just been very, very fearless. Just sometimes to my detriment, I guess. Sometimes it's not a good thing. I could get hit by a bus, but just to put 110% in everything I do. So the action of just being.
What is the quote that you say all the time?
What is my quote?
Ask for.
I prefer to ask for forgiveness than permission.
Amen. Amen.
That's good.
What is your process? What is your process in terms of your art?
Oh. I mean, most recently, I've always grown up doing like sketches, like sketch comedy with my brother. Like we'd film and write things. So the fact that I have an outlet. We literally have a movie studio at our home now. We have an amazing camera and stuff. And what I love, my process is I love sitting down and writing something for us to do in our show, or for my daughter. We have Liza with a baby Z. I'm writing one right now.
I love it.
The process is just sitting down and writing. And sometimes it doesn't. I'm by no means a writer, but this stuff, when it comes to me, it just brings me so much joy. There's just so much joy to it, and it's not work. And I could sit there, and then even just doing something creative, like listening to a song or watching something that has to do with Broadway or musical, it'll inspire me a lot to write something. I'm like, oh, that's what I'm missing. This is what's going to happen. So just, I don't know, being inspired by others.
That's great. But I'm gonna correct you on something.
Yes.
You're more of a writer than you think you are.
Okay.
No, if you write, you write. You're a writer.
Yes.
So you're a writer.
Thank
And
you.
because I know what comes across to the audience. And I was lucky enough, shameless plug, in March, I was doing my show, first time on stage after 3 years, and Nick and Desi were there. And Desi came up on stage with me, and we did a little thing together. So thank you. That
I was in the middle of eating, and he's like, Desi? I'm like, I'm coming.
She was there. Sean, for you, how does a Sean Patrick show come about, other than Nick and Desi reaching out and saying, we want you to come out? Let's talk about your Sondheim Diva show. How does a show come about for you?
So I start with the songs first, always. Because I come from storytelling genes. On both sides, my parents' family, they could talk forever. So I will always find a story to fit the situation. I want to do the songs first. So when I found out about P-Town originally, and I wasn't even asked yet to do it, but I was finishing up my Mario Lanza album, and I was like, oh, they're doing Sondheim. And so I was working, as I do, multiple jobs and recording my album for the first time. And I started making a list of, if I were to be asked to do this show, these are the songs. And pretty much the set list has been set since September.
Oh.
And I make the songs that I want to sing. I talk for this show specifically, the women that I want to focus on, which is, we all have our own divas. There's no right or wrong. It's just why they speak to you. You know, there are plenty of divas you might expect in my show that you won't see, but I will be paying tribute to divas like Dawn Upshaw, who is an opera diva, who lent her voice to Sondheim. And so many people that you may not expect to see, but they're there for me. And so I come up with the set list, and then I go back, and as I'm singing it, I find, well, why did I pick this song? And then that kind of influences the stories. I group them, and then I figure out, what influenced this group? And I look back at my own experience, and I do a really bad draft of my show, and then I say it in the shower, I say it on the subway, I say it cooking dinner until I get what I want to have said. And that's how kind of I do my show. And ultimately it ends up being like a high school essay. Because you talk about what you're going to talk about. This is what I'm going to present to you. And here is the support, both in songs and patter, to bring us to my ultimate conclusion as to why I needed to do this show for everyone here tonight.
Okay, let's talk about the ultimate conclusion. So you did all of that, which I love, but how did you actually get to Provincetown with this show?
I asked.
Good. See, you just asked.
I asked. Sometimes that's just all you have to do, and I feel like there's something about creating momentum, which I know earlier I talked about taking time off, and you can take a time off, but I do feel there's something about being in the work, creating momentum, and supporting people to where then people will come out of the woodwork and support you. So it's one of these things where it's not tit for tat. It's not because I went to see your show, you come to my show. I went to your show because I wanted to see your show, and I trust that there's enough people that want to come to my show. And then like we all see each other's shows for each other. We all are each other's, as a community, we are all each other's representative, and we will all. It took me how long to finally see Meg's show the other month, and it gutted me. If you can go this Sunday, please go see it. And they put me in the front row, and I'm like, no way, I'm in the I feel things. It killed me, and it was beautiful. If you've ever taken care of anyone, I have taken care of the elderly, I have taken care of people with addictions, and I'm currently taking care of a toddler. At any stage of the game, this show, you really need to see. It is absolutely beautiful, and it affected me for a long time after I saw it.
Why are you moving to LA?
So Meg, you have to take your show to LA.
Yeah.
So, Meg, I've got a statement and then a question. First of all, you are a creator. What does your creativity bring to you?
A connection to something higher, something pure, something eternal, something correct, something useful, like the highest vibration. Like I can change the vibration of myself simply by listening to the music I want to learn. Walking around, doing my COVID walk every day and listening to patter that I've recorded and I'm memorizing. Just being part of a process lifts me out of the lowest part of me and brings me to the highest part of me. And the highest part of us is who we really are. So I think it gives me my true self. It silences the voices, the old patterns, the who do you think you are? The pain, the guilt, the low self-esteem, the regrets, the woulda, coulda, shoulda, all that. It just goes. You go right to the place of creation, and you make a baby like Nick and Desi.
A very unique baby that they made. She's a star. She truly is. So, Nick, I have this, belief every day that, I get up each day and I always think, how can I be 1% better than I was the day before? So I want to ask you, what have you done today, or what are you thinking of doing today that will make you 1% better than you were yesterday?
Every night before I go to sleep, I make a list of things I want to achieve the next day. I say, what do I need to do? What do I have to do? What do I want to do? And to make me 1% better, I try to be more in the moment. It's so, we've been becoming so attached to this device in our hands that I'm always like, people can reach me whenever they want, and I'm trying to disconnect a bit more and be 1% better, 1% more present with my family, with because like Sean said, it's okay to say no.
Yes.
I don't have to respond to an email the second I get it, or notice a voiceover audition and say, oh, I need to record this right now. I need to stop what I'm doing. It can wait.
Yes.
I can do it later. I can set some time.
Remember, no is a complete sentence.
No is a complete sentence. So
yeah, thank you, Jane Fonda. Okay.
Yeah, that's a great.
And Nick, Desi, being a mom, and that's a profession in itself.
Yes.
Being a mom, having a career, doing all these things. How do you find that you spend your time probably more wisely than you were a year ago at this time as your daughter's aging, as she's getting older?
Well, I'm lucky enough that now she's in school, so I get to have some time for myself. And I love doing Pilates and working out. And I think that's some people don't enjoy exercising, but there's something about it for me that I have to do because it makes me feel wonderful to start my day. So that is something that I feel like I have time for now.
Look at these guns, look at these shoulders.
Yes.
I don't know if that answers the question, but that is something that I really, that's the answer.
That's great.
It's for myself, because you lose yourself as when you have a child. You're like, who am I again? And I think also creating our show gives me an outlet of such joy, just like I said, with writing and figuring out how to make this song go into the next. It really is exciting for me. So
that's wonderful. And you're wonderful. Thank you, Ed. Sean, who are the top 3 influencers or people that you follow in this business, and why?
Who do I follow in this business? The top 3 influencers. Oh, that's a harder question than it seems. People that I look up to and follow. Someone in this business that I do look up to is Victoria Clark. And she's actually in more recent years become much more active on social media, which is wonderful because she is such a light of a human being. I'm not sure if you've seen Kimberly Akimbo, but it is phenomenal. And I just absolutely adore her. And so that's one person that I look up to and aspire to, that just staying with it and that career longevity. Absolutely adore her. I have a hard time with influencers. Tabitha Brown. I love Tabitha Brown. She's amazing. She's like the happiest vegan in the world. And she is just, again, so much light and so much joy. I absolutely adore her. And that's somebody who goes out of their way to make people happy every day and to choose love, to choose light, to choose joy. Maybe this isn't that hard of a question. And these are all random because it's not really connected to she's not really connected to what I'm pursuing, but it grounds me and it brings me peace. I have a hard time with influencers because I find a lot of times I doubt their sincerity. I'm like, what are we selling here? I have a lot of issues when influencers are body-based. Even friends of mine that are successful in what they do, when it's Broadway Bear season, I'm like, here's $20. I'm going to mute you because I have my body dysmorphia that gets triggered when you're talking about 1 ounce of fat that you need to get rid of. So a lot of the body-based influencers where I'm like, I lost 100 pounds. I struggle. I was, a fat gay man when body positivity was not a thing. Like I struggle with that. So I have a hard time with influencers in really gauging their sincerity.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because unfortunately, I can see through it, and it's like one of those things where I'm like, I know you're not.
It's not
sincere,
unfortunate. It's good.
Yeah.
That you don't, because many people believe it and think they're wonderful. So it's good that you see through it.
So
I guess a third person.
I really appreciate your honesty on this because
I will say, as to get us to 3, I really do respect and appreciate you, because you have been, in the way that that Limerick came together, is you have been tirelessly working to the name of your show, Richard Skipper. Richard Skipper Celebrates.
Yes.
Celebrates. Today I work for Jamie DeRoy, who says hello.
Don't
and I
make me
rushed
cry
home from
now.
work,
I'm going to cry.
and she
I've got a
was
question
like,
I
"You
need
make
to ask you. Stick around after the show because I've got a question for you that I will not ask during this show.
Yeah,
and
you got it.
All of you can stick around so you'll know what the question is. But stick around after the final credits. I've got one last question for you, Sean. But I've got a last question that I want to ask each of you, and I'm going to start with you, Meg, on this. A lot's going on in the world right now on so many levels, and I want to ask, how are you feeling really in the midst of everything that's going on?
I'm very grateful for Heather Cox Richardson. I think everybody needs to read her Letters from an American, because she is this professor of history who daily writes a recap of the news.
I want her on here
with footnotes and a bibliography or whatever you call it, so you know what all her sources are. And it calms me every day. It calms me down to know that someone like she exists. And also, she often reports about all the good things that are going on. She recaps what's been incredibly successful about this current administration that the media doesn't often pick up because they're selling advertising. And so that is the problem when we have sales and then we have communication, and they don't always have the same agenda. So when I read Heather, I calm down. I have hope. I do believe in people. I do believe there's more good than bad, or there's more enlightened than scared. How's that? Because let's face it, it's fear that makes people behave so badly. But what my latest realization, I just wrote a song about this called "Walk Home," all about how there's a new layer of grief that I've been experiencing, because I think there was a sort of a high during quarantine that we had to get through, and then we were going to open the doors and the sun was going to be out and everything was going to be the same or better. And now it's no, open the doors, the sun is out and nothing is the same. A lot is gone forever. And what are you going to do about it, Meg? So it's all about, acknowledging the loss, acknowledging that pretty much every institution I'm a part of is struggling right now. That it's never going to be January 2020 again, and how do I walk that walk? How do I be a creative person in that walk? How do I be a New Yorker in that walk? How do I be a 59-year-old woman in that walk? How do I be an American in that walk? How do I be a taxpayer in that walk? How do I be a neighbor in that walk? And I think the bottom line for me is to feel the loss, to say, I'm a little melancholy. Walk through it. Don't deny it, because that is one thing I've learned about grief, is that when you acknowledge it and own it, it isn't as heavy to carry. It's putting the blonde wig on and the red lips and the hi. That's exhausting.
Well, I used to do that. So not anymore. Yes. Nick, same question for you. How are you feeling really in the midst of everything that's going on in the world right now?
I'm stressed. I'm stressed. It's just trying to keep trucking on. And what Meg said, you just got to keep walking. Just acknowledge it and walk through it, and focus on the good things. With so much hate, so many great, awful things happening, being able to see through that crap and seeing that there is still good in this world, and see the good things and the positive. And I've always been very positive and always very optimistic. And so, Desi, we kind of balance each other out. She's more the realist. I'm more the pessimist.
So you were going to say you're negative.
Desi's negative and I'm positive.
Not all the time.
But anyways, but being able to acknowledge,
practical,
not ignore it.
Yes.
Yeah, not ignoring the negative things, but acknowledging them and saying, what Meg said. So just got to keep trucking through.
And Desi, same question for you.
I try to take it moment to moment. There's so many with all like I don't even want to say it. The school shootings and all of that. It destroys me. And when I see all of this, the only things we can do is just keep telling people in our government that what should happen. And it really affects me. Like anything that has to do with children is and I also listen, which I'm doing it to myself, to true crime things because it's interesting because I feel like I'm learning because you have to be vigilant, you have to be aware. And I am more aware than I have ever been because I've had time to listen to this stuff and just taking it moment to moment, being aware. And I do take things in and I let it out, and I will cry. When I hear about something, I will let it out, and it'll be a while that I am crying, and I sometimes tell you, but
call me and we'll cry together.
Yes, you just need to do that, and to feel you feel helpless a lot in these situations. So, but again, taking it moment to moment and showing up for my family, that's the best I can do. So.
That's great.
Yeah.
And Sean?
Tired. I think all of us, what we have in common is we're all incredibly sensitive people, which is always used to put someone down, but actually it's quite lovely to feel. But it can be draining to be that sensitive, to be that open, and constantly strive for hope. So yeah, I'm tired a lot with what's going on, and I am constantly fighting not looking in the comments, even though I was like, I have to, like, I know someone's going to say something stupid, and I go and I look for that, and then I just have to take myself out of it and get back to whatever brings me hope, whether it's meditating, whether it's listening to music, whether it's reminding myself that, hey, you're a nanny. Start with these kids, impact their life, so that way they can be the change, so that way they can grow up knowing in a loving way that things aren't always going to be great, but you can choose how you respond to it. So responding to everything that's going on in the world, it's about acknowledging that I'm tired. I'm just tired, but I'm hopeful because I'm still creating. I'm hopeful because I'm still trying to make an impact on these children's life. So it's that little bit of a balance.
That's great. I'm going to give each of you a chance to have your final word today. So stick around for a few minutes. And then after the credits, don't go anywhere because I've got a question for Sean that I have to ask him. So just sit tight, Sean. So anyway, everybody, thank you for being here today. As our Friday wrap up, wouldn't it be wonderful if we could all wrap this stuff up? And just put it in a box and throw it as far into the ocean as possible. Not so that it pollutes the ocean, but so that it dissolves in the ocean. There is so much hatred and anger and vitriol that is going out in the world right now. And I've been thinking a lot over the last week about so many things. And I am so with Nick and Desi. I was thinking, everyone bear with me for just a moment, but I was thinking recently about my own life at 5 years of age. Some of you know that with some of my shows, I always go back to the 5-year-old self because the 5-year-old self to me is the purest self. It's before life begins to tell you who you should be or who you shouldn't be and all of those things that go with it. And I was thinking about my life at 5 years old in South Carolina, growing up on a tobacco farm and living each year for the annual showings of The Wizard of Oz and Cinderella with Leslie Ann Warren, who became a friend. And little did I know watching these shows as a kid. But the thing is, as those were the biggest issues in my life. The Wizard of Oz, I lived for it. In the TV guide, there used to be a yellow section of upcoming events, and I would always look to see what date The Wizard of Oz would come on, and I lived for that year after year after year. And life wasn't always peachy keen. Unfortunately, my father was an alcoholic, and I lived with the turmoil of that. But there was never a night that my parents went to bed that they did not know where their children were. We were there as a family. Every night at 7 o'clock, we sat down together as a family and had dinner. The TV was off. We sat, and we talked. We talked about what was going on in school that day and everything. And I realized that in school, I didn't have to worry about whether the kid sitting next to me had a gun in his backpack or not. I was watching 2020 last night, and the single mother of this kid that shot the teacher in Virginia, and all the signs that this kid was dealing with in terms of his own issues that were being ignored. And I think that a lot, I mean, we've got an incident going on here in New York right now where someone lost his life. But all of these like signs were there that, and everyone let him down. And I feel that that's something that we're all capable of doing, and that's letting each other down. But we are also capable of building each other up. So my wish for everyone, as I say at every show, pick up the phone. I want all of you to do the same thing tonight. Pick up the phone and call someone that you haven't spoken to in a while, and let that person know how they've made an impact on your life. Do it before it's too late to do so. It takes just a few moments to do that, and trust me, you'll make a difference in someone's life. As a dear friend of mine says, we're all in the same storm, but we're in different size boats. And as I always say, I don't care what size boat you're on, as long as you've got a skipper by your side. And with that, I'm going to leave the screen, and I'm going to turn it over to you, Nick and Desi. When you finish, you'll pick the next person, and then you'll pick who that person is. We'll pick the final person to have the final word today. And don't worry about how to end the show, because as soon as you say goodbye, the final credits will roll. Everybody, please, please, please go and see these great artists live. It's or if you can't, for Nick and Desi, you can live stream them as well. So, and Sean's going to be on that stage as well. So go out and see a live show if you possibly can, and say hello to your neighbors today in a nice way. So with that, I'm going to leave the screen, and Nick and Desi, it's all yours.
Go ahead.
Me?
Yeah.
We're always, I just can't stop smiling after any of these shows. I think that art, anything that has to do with art, anything that you do that is bringing joy to others is wonderful. And taking the time, also as an artist, I think it's hard to think about how you affect others. It's always like trying to get the work out there. I just think we need to stop and think and know that what you're doing is a service, and you're helping others. The joy that after the show, when we do a show, it's just the most lovely experience to talk to others, and just a moment, a song, something that has brought joy to another person just because you sang it or said something. It's just sometimes you have to take a moment and think what you can do for others. That I don't
like
speak very well, but go ahead.
Of course you speak. Stop putting yourself down. Stop putting my wife down. You know, I always say that you know, superheroes bring hope to people, and so everyone can be a superhero by just doing a kind gesture. So I always like to say that my final word on Richard Skipper's show is that always lead with kindness, because you don't know what somebody next to you is going through, and a smile or a helpful hand or opening the door or offering to carry a grocery bag or anything like that, you can just be their superhero for that small moment. So you know, be kind to each other and always lead with kindness. And to that, I pass it along to Sean Patrick Martin.
Thank you so much. This was a really, I always have a great time on these shows. Hi, Nick. I always have a wonderful time on these shows, but today felt a little special because I always enjoy meeting people. But today was like a little group, like a little coven of people that I love and adore. And so it's really special. I felt we got to open up and share each other's joy and happiness and artistry. And I think that's what we should all continue to go out and do, and to share the energy and the love that we feel with the people around us. As Richard said, reach out to somebody that you want to reconnect with and share that joy, that passion, the artistry. just hold each other up and allow each other to open up. Richard was talking about 5-year-old Richard growing up on that tobacco farm. And it made me think, as I sit here in a caftan talking about a show about me singing all the divas numbers, that, 5-year-old Shawnee prancing around in his mom's slip and high heels with his Shearer dolls. Never in my wildest dreams would I imagine that I would be on a stage in New York in heels and fishnets, singing all the girl songs that I want to sing and wearing whatever article of clothing I want to wear. So uplift yourself and reconnect with your own energy as well as the people around you. Go back to that 5-year-old and maybe do something that would blow their mind and change their day if you could go back in time. And I may be a tenor, but I know I only have one choice, and that is Meg. So I'm going to pass it on to you. They made it easy for me.
Oh, beautiful. Oh, well, one of my favorite expressions is, do I contradict myself? Very well, then, I contradict myself. I am large. I contain multitudes. So I guess I would like to leave with, give yourself all your colors, all your feelings. There's no such thing as a good feeling, a bad feeling. They're all useful. And if you are grieving and if you are feeling isolated, you aren't alone. And to acknowledge it, to feel it, to live it. And then maybe you can even open up your mouth and share what you're feeling with another person, to get the shame out of the grief and the shame out of maybe things not working out exactly the way you envisioned them post-COVID. And give yourself the colors, give yourself all the feelings. And then you actually give yourself a lot of options to be creative. That's it.